Well, I'm John Trang, and I'm from Tucson, Arizona, and this is...
I'm Jude Trang, and I'm from Tucson, Arizona, and we are here in Melbourne because our only child, Johanna, married an Aussie and moved here 12 years ago.
The deal was, she should have said our only surviving child is here because
our son, John Life, died of a heroin overdose 5 years ago and had been addicted to opioids, prescriptions first as a middle school kid in the States, which is very common, and then he moved on to heroin because it was so cheap, cheaper than alcohol. And
easier to get.
Yep. Oh my goodness. Well, of course, having had something like this happened to us, we rethought our whole lives of how we responded to his addiction, the expense of recovery programs that lasted a month at best, and then they send you back out on the street. And the idea that there's a quick cure for addiction, the shame and stigma, all of that. So when we saw Australia Addicted, we just went like, oh, this is it. We're so glad.
Perfect timing. So for us too, we now, of course, want to be part of the solution, and we think that education is going to be a huge part of it, particularly at the younger age levels, and for parents, because when I was a kid, the people that used heroin were a couple of jazz musicians, and when my son was a kid, it was common. It was, like she said, easier to get than alcohol, and cheaper. So we hope that we can contribute to not only breaking down the stigmas, but getting the parents the education that they need, and the kids.
I think the understanding, I know each kind of addiction is different, and we do understand that opioids are really tough and people have lifelong issues with them. I think the understanding that it is something that relates to people's health, to their, the thing I always tell people, do you think my son wanted to be a heroin addict? Of course he didn't. And that was the hard part for us, was to get that through our heads that he did not want to be that way, and yet he had this physical thing happening in him. And so I think getting a holistic approach like what Dan and the crew was doing with the program, where you have community, you have peer support, you have medication, you have cognitive behavioral therapy. Sadly, it takes all of that once you're trapped in addiction.